feel like Cuba was a prison because it's not like she can migrate anywhere else and see anything different. What's up, everybody? It's your girl BTHEBRAND, and I am back with another video. Welcome to my channel. If you are new, my name is BTHEBRAND. I'm from Washington, D.C., and I'm also an entrepreneur. But if you're not new, then you already know the vibes over here, okay? We get strictly to the business, to the topics, and I want to hear y'all feedback more importantly. So today will be me talking about Assata Shakur again, and this will be the part 2. As I stated to you guys previously on my channel, Assata Shakur is a civil rights activist that down the road became the first and still is the only woman on the FBI's most wanted list. So in part 1, I left off talking about Cuba granting her political asylum, which is basically untouchable freedom in the land of Cuba. And they also gave her $13 a day towards her living expenses, which, you know, it's a third world country, I think. So let's go into her life on the run. We will talk about her very serious charges, as well as speaking on what has happened as far as the U.S. government trying to get her extradited in the recent years. Assata Shakur had a daughter, and her daughter lived and was raised by Assata's mother. Ain't that something? Ain't it something when it's like Assata ran away from home. She ran away from her very toxic living situation with her mother and stepfather. They argued a lot, etc. And then Assata has a child, and she has to live with the mother in which you ran away from, in which Assata ran away from. So I just peeped that real quick. Anyways, so Assata's daughter came to live with Assata in Cuba in 1985. I would have thought that the U.S. government would have tried in some type of way to halt that or to stop it altogether, to make it not so, but she went to go live with her mom. Just 2 years after Assata arrived in Cuba and was granted political asylum, her presence and her story became widely known in Cuba. It became hugely known after she did an interview with Newsday. And to me, that's very bold, okay? It's very bold to do an interview while you on the run. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have done it. She praised Fidel Castro as the hero of the oppressed and called herself a 20th century escaped slave. After her open letter interview in 1987, Assata Shakur published an autobiography written in Cuba. At the time of this book's release, the reward for the assistance of her capture was $1 million. Her autobiography ended up being republished in Britain in 2014. And despite all of the attention that her books and interviews was getting her, and the police knew exactly where she was, in 1993 she released a second book. There was space and time in between these books being published, the interviews, the open letters, etc. But it's fair to say that even though she was avoiding capture, it was like she didn't want to completely vanish. She still wanted her voice to be heard. She still wanted to speak out on certain things. She still wanted to tell her story. As far as I'm seeing it, her constant progression in educating and in becoming a established author, in making her voice be heard to the masses. I wish that she could have done that in the US years before any of this bad shit happened. I wish that that's who she could have been. Minus the murder charges, minus the attempted murder charges, minus the robberies. It could have been like that. And honestly, I would see Cuba as a prison too. Because to me, as far as Assata Shakur goes, it's like this. I would feel like Cuba was a prison because it's not like she can migrate anywhere else and see anything different. She's in Cuba for the rest of her life. If she come back here, they gonna get her. And I'm gonna tell you why towards the end of the video. In 1997, New Jersey police wrote a letter to the then Pope John Paul II, asking him to stress the importance of the extradition of Assata Shakur and to stress the importance when he is meeting with Fidel Castro. The Pope was not able to come to certain terms or whatever to have his voice be heard as far as Assata's extradition, but what he was able to do was get Assata Shakur to do an interview with NBC. In 1998, the U.S. Congress passed a non-binding resolution asking for the return of Assata and 90 other fugitives that were hiding in Cuba since around September of 1988. Attempt after attempt was unsuccessful, but that didn't stop the New Jersey State Police, U.S. government, or the FBI. On May 2nd, 2005, 32 years after the shootout that happened on the New Jersey Turnpike, the shootout that Assata and her BLA family took part in, that day the reward for assistance of her capture was doubled from $1 million to $2 million. This is the largest reward put on one individual in the history of New Jersey. The bounty doubling got back to Assata Shakur shortly after and caused her to, for the first time since living in Cuba, she dropped out of sight. In recent years, as recent as 2017, when Donald Trump was in office, he gave a speech and canceled a condition of making a new deal between the U.S. and Cuba. This deal was put in place originally to release political prisoners and to return the fugitives from justice. Towards the end of his speech, Trump specifically called for the return of cop killer Joanne Chesimard. Now, Joanne Chesimard is an alias of Assata Shakur's. Even Assata Shakur is an alias. So it depends on what name that you want to say. You know what I'm saying? You can say the name that's on the Wikipedia page, the one that got the Deborah in the middle name. You could say Assata Shakur. You could say Joanne Chesimard. Perhaps she is Joanne Chesimard now because she is different from the person that she used to be. And if that is the case, I do commend her. To end this video off on Miss Assata Shakur, I wish Assata started where she ended. And what I mean by that is, I believe Assata could have been just as political, a civil rights activist, but instead of being a follower, she could have been a civil rights leader, capable of making her voice be heard with the strength and knowledge to lead a crowd, having the knowledge and power to control, demand, and more importantly, articulate your frustrations, pain, and trauma. But it's all about how you start. How you start very well can dictate what your ending will be. I feel like when you grow up in a toxic environment, that is very humble beginnings. And just imagine if she was not taken in by her aunt. You know, I feel like you have to be conscious and aware of when God is blessing you. And that was a huge blessing and a huge positive influence that could have made more of a difference if she wanted her outcome to be positive. Being a part of an organization that brainwashes you into doing foul things that they want you to do and rationalizing it is still in fact your fault. I don't like to be biased, so I want to say this. As far as her prison escape, now I commend them for making a plan, sticking to it, and executing the plan perfectly. You know what I'm saying? But just like they did that, you can make positive plans that will work out. And plus, nobody was hurt, so I like that, right? However, I don't respect anybody running from their responsibilities and what they need to do as an individual. To me, it's the same thing as a person being involved in a crime with their gang. Just because you have in your eyes a lesser involvement, it doesn't take away from the potential time that all of y'all will serve as one, as a unit. Common behavior is to grow from the person that you were. And I can see a lot of positivity in interviews, and I can hear it from her voice after her escape. But I think that a part of growing from the person that you were and becoming a better person is facing your problems head on, not running from them. And as well as in any toxic relationship or a brainwashing relationship, after you're out of it, of course you would see that you got taken advantage of, but does that mean that you turn from a suspect or a killer to a victim? I don't think so. I really don't think so. A lot of people wouldn't try to put themselves in her position and try to think of it in that way, and I definitely could say that I wouldn't have ran from it. Anybody can get taken advantage of. It might happen 100 times in your life in different ways, and you never see it coming. And yeah, in some right, that does make you a victim. But when you cause and are a part of so much trouble and so much chaos, I don't even look at you as a victim for that. You willingly participated in something where a man was not able to go home and see his kids, see his wife. He wasn't able to wake up the next morning and do his job, just like he was doing on the day that he died. Like, the thing about it is, yes, some police back in the day, they did have certain agendas against us. And they was very foul towards us. But that don't mean that we look at that officer as every officer in every state. You can't rationalize killing a police officer. You can't rationalize it because they take off the uniform every day. We can't go about stuff in a negative way and then want to be classified as a victim or as a 20th century slave. Listen, if it was a brainwashing relationship, like you with a man and he brainwashing you into believing that the world going to end, so you need to bow and be loyal to him and his every word and stuff like that, and then you do it for years and years, that's still something that you wanted to do. I root for the underdog, I root for my people, but I don't have no problem with calling out what I see. And to me, it's certain things that I would like to speak on in the next video about the Black Panther Party. So leave your thoughts on this topic at hand as well as the Black Panther Party in the comments below. until next time, I'll see y'all. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. And I'm going to see y'all later.